All right, thank you very much. And so we're into day two. If you were here yesterday, you would recall we had a session in the morning talking about smart machines. And then in the afternoon, we expanded that and talked about smart factories during the panel session. And so now, for the next half an hour, we're going to be discussing a particular industry, the automotive industry, with our esteemed panelists who are also the presenters this morning. So let me kick it off and with the first question to the panelists. And it's really about the automotive industry is usually considered a pioneer when it comes to new technologies. If you remember where the first robots were implemented, for example, but also new practices. If you remember just in time and lean production in the 1980s and the 1990s. And of course, we heard a mention of the second industrial revolution, which was all about Henry Ford's mass production efforts in the US. So my question is this the case also with Industry 4.0, with smart production? Is the automotive industry also a leader when it comes to Industry 4.0?
Actually, when we talking about Industry 4.0, of course, still some of the keynote speakers mentioned about the lean production. I think lean production, using the concept of lean production to combine with the Industry 4.0, I think that will be the key. For example, lean production try to emphasize, reduce the cost, right, and increase the quality, and then increase the flexibility. In other words, you have some kind of mass customization and shorten the time to market. And all of these kind of goals, of course, we should use Industry 4.0 technology, or for example, IoT, the cyber-physical system, to accomplish those four goals. So I think that is I think actually all of the leading companies try to do something like that. For example, Mercedes-Benz and Toyota, Lexus, etc. try to do these kind of things, right? Try to use Industry 4.0 platform to accomplish the goal of lean production. I think that is what we try to do. And so in Taiwan, we should try to build the infrastructure of Industry 4.0. That is the key. If without the infrastructure, of course, it's out of the question. It's impossible for you to do these kind of things. So anyhow, we should try to build our infrastructure. We have to build, for example, the IoT, then the Internet of Things, then of course, we try to connect from car to car, from human being to cars, something like that. So this kind of infrastructure got to be built first. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Eckhart, you mentioned, I think, one statement you gave in your presentation was the last 2 years have seen the most dramatic changes in the automotive industry. Does that make something like Industry 4.0 even more important, given that you already have very complex supply chains, you have these issues around increasing customer choices? So those dramatic changes that you mentioned, does it really make Industry 4.0 even more essential for your industry?
You would like to be in the business, the car build business. Industry 4.0, of course, is essential. You got to have the infrastructure Industry 4.0 to build it. For example, in Taiwan, we have Luxgen, right? And you see what they try to do. Actually, they just try to reduce the gap between Luxgen and the Mercedes-Benz, right? And how can they do so? Without Industry 4.0's platform, it's impossible. So anyhow, and you see, not only the car builder or automobile industry, for example, for the other high-tech industry, for example, the semiconductor industry, for example, our TSMC, they know how to do Industry 4.0 10 or even 15 years ago. Before they called it e-manufacturing. Actually, what the difference between e-manufacturing and Industry 4.0? Mainly, it's just the cloud computing. Because, for example, in semiconductor industry, when they try to use ICT technology, information and communication technology, to enhance their manufacturing capability, they know they got to use ICT technology. They got to use information and the internet technology to enhance their manufacturing capability. At that time, they have the term called e-manufacturing. But at that time, you see, 10 or 15 years ago, cloud computing is still not popular. It's still not mature yet. But the cloud computing technology is just mature about 5 years ago. That's the reason why when Germany mentioned about the Industry 4.0, they bring the cloud computing in the key technology of Industry 4.0. Of course, that is just because cloud computing is mature now. But not anyhow, I just would like to emphasize that in Taiwan, actually, we are very strong of the semiconductor industry. So for that high-tech technology, high-tech companies, they already have the concept similar to Industry 4.0 before. Anyhow, so in our automobile build industry, so for example, the Luxians, they have these kind of ideas also. But of course, I just emphasize that this is a must. You must know how to use ICT technologies, how to take advantage of these ICT technologies and use them into the production system. Actually, this is the key. So Industry 4.0 or e-manufacturing is just a term. But anyhow, something behind it is ICT technology. You should know the advances of the ICT technologies and just use them and bring them into the production system, and so that you can compete with all the others. Thank you.
Professor, let me also ask you a question. Really looking to the future and being from the university, and we've heard and seen a number of technologies discussed this morning. But are there any of these which you feel, or perhaps others, that you see playing a larger, more significant part, especially in the automotive industry, going ahead? I'm thinking about AI, machine learning, augmented reality, 3D printing, analytics. Are there some of those which you think are should be a real focus, a real priority for the industry?
I think, yeah, you just mentioned, I think all of them are important. For example, machine learning, right? And this kind of 3D printing, right? That is, actually, it's got to be a very essential technology in the very near future. And so you see, that is, besides that technology, actually, what we really would like to have is the big data analysis. Because for 3D printing, machine learning, that sort of things, got to have a lot of data for you to handle, a lot of data for you to dig into it, to do data mining, etc. So big data analytics actually is the key technologies. So you see TSMC, of course, it is in semiconductor industry. They emphasize the big data analysis, big data competition, something like that. So you see, even in the automobile manufacturing, and still the machine learning, right, 3D printing, and etc., they got to use some technologies related to big data analytics. So I just try to emphasize that besides that machine learning and 3D printing, etc., you got to pay attention to big data analytics. And why previously, maybe something like 10 years ago, they didn't emphasize that just because the IT technology are not that good because the computation time takes so long. But you see, just about 3 or 5 years ago, the Hadoop architecture. They use parallel processing. They use MapReduce, etc. So they can search or they can process huge data in a very fast fashion. That is the reason why big data analytics becomes more important than before. That is the key. That is the issue. So anyhow, try to pay attention to big data. And this application got to be very ubiquitous to all of the industries, of course, including the automobile manufacturing industry.
Okay.
Thank you.